singa lwasatto winyiga fwabusa mujikuru kwa baleka
jumurango makabumba igura gutamba.
For decades, June 11th signaled to subjects, loyalists and supporters of Bunyoro Kingdom to gear up for the coronation anniversary of the king, the biggest cultural event in the kingdom. The 9-day celebrations marked by festivities, feasting, merrymaking and cultural rituals would climax with the sounding of the 9-footed royal drum known as Empango. The royal drum is sounded once a year on June 11th by only one person, the Omukama. The Empango ritual is a cherished tradition that symbolizes the kingdom's rich cultural heritage and unity among its people. However, this tradition has been disrupted due to the ill health of Omukama, Rukirabasai Gutamba Solomon Gafabsego I, who has not performed the rituals in years. This year's celebrations marked the 6th consecutive year without the central ritual, robbing the Bunyoro community, especially the young, of a chance to experience and learn about their culture and history. Elders now worry that the significance of the Empango celebration, the most vivid representation and dramatization of the power of culture, which is key for passing on to the young generations the glorious ancestry of the people of Bunyoro Kingdom, is slowly being erased. The royal drum he would have sounded today is the very one he sounded when he ascended the throne on June 11, 1994, after the current government, led by Okwir and Byakutaga, reinstated cultural institutions that had been abolished in 1967 by the Milton Obote government. The 76-year-old monarchy has not been seen in public for years as his health remains shrouded in mystery. He last presided over the celebrations and sounded the royal drum in 2019. The celebrations were suspended the 2 following years due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Then, in 2023, the Omukama was reported indisposed. In 2024, he was reportedly airlifted from his palace Karuzika in Hoima City for treatment and management in Kampala. He later returned to his kingdom and remains ill, making it hard for him to perform the rituals that take days and require him to stand for long hours. The kingdom's Prime Minister, Byakutaga, said, I quote, "The ceremony to be held today is not the real Empango, but part of the activities to mark 31 years since the enthronement. We pray the king gets better and comes back to perform the rituals." He added that the kingdom is committed to maintaining the cultural importance of the anniversary by carrying out different activities and rituals that can be performed by other people. John Amparo, a former Kingdom First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism and a member of the Ababito ruling clan, noted that while the king's absence has exacerbated the erosion of some rituals, the kingdom is trying to survive and adapt, but with concerns of over-commercializing the event that is purely meant to be cultural. It's a tremendous dilemma, but the kingdom still needs to survive, and the subjects still need to accomplish some semblance of resilience and adaptation to hardships and adversity. It is unfortunate to the young generations that the king is indisposed. We also missed seeing these rituals being performed when kingdoms were abolished. We only pray the king gets better and comes back to perform them, and you enjoy, he said. In the recent past, celebrations have been adopted to include non-cultural aspects. In the run up to today's celebrations, several activities, including a golf tournament and a marathon, whose proceeds were directed toward purchasing a cancer screening machine, at Hoima Regional Referral Hospital were held in Hoima City to bring members of the royal family and subjects together. On the eve of the major celebrations, Thanksgiving prayers were held at Duhaga St. Peter's Cathedral. A trans-night trade show also took place in Masindi town yesterday. The theme of this year's celebrations, I quote, "Embracing unity and diversity for the preservation of our culture and heritage," pays homage to a region that has been a home to several immigrant communities such as Arul, Bakiga, Indians, Congolese, and is now anticipating its melting pot status as newcomers look to benefit from the oil and gas boom. However, elders worry that with the significance of Mpango slowly getting erased, it makes the kingdom's future uncertain. The rituals have salutary importance if honored, and potentially stand to generate misery and malfeasance if they are consistently skipped, said 90-year-old Reuben Kyomya, who performed the rituals in 1960 under Omukama Satito Wenyi. Today, June 11th, which would have been the climax of the celebrations with the sounding of the royal drum at the palace residence Karuzika, will instead be an informal event held at Tukurato Courtyard in Hoima City in the absence of the king. Select members of the royal family, kingdom officials, government officials, and subjects will attend, as opposed to the previous functions where the celebrations were open to all subjects who thronged the palace in large numbers to have a glimpse of the king and listen from him. The Mpango rituals. For 25 years, the king's coronation anniversary celebrations were a cultural spectacle. The main event, sounding the royal drum, would be preceded by the presentation of a regalia, a bikwatu to the Omukama on the night of June 9th in a function known as Okweza cleansing, where regalia including spears and drums was presented to the king. This was followed by another cleansing ceremony at the Omukama Chwatu Kabalega's royal burial ground, located 3 kilometers away from Hoima City, Central Business District. On June 10th here, the men in charge handed over the regalia to the king at midnight. After receiving the regalia, the Omukama would go to the kraal to receive a bull from Mpanyara, the man from the ruling Ababito clan who enthroned him. This is a token of appreciation for leading the kingdom. Between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., the bull is slaughtered and the king serves his subjects. After this, they all sleep. In the morning of June 11th, Omukama would go to his bathroom, a Kyambukia, for a shower before he served breakfast. Thereafter, wearing the royal regalia, the Omukama and the Omugo queen take their seats in front of the palace, Karuzika, to preside over the Mpango ceremony. He would give an annual address to the subjects. Speeches and other ceremonies would be out of the way before 3 p.m. A few minutes to 3 p.m., the Omukama and the Omugo changed into backcloth attire before the Omukama ascended the Nyamyaro, the 9-legged throne said to be 2 centuries old, with the Omugo and Queen Mother seated his right and left respectively. The king's sword, Kabindango, and walking stick, Omwigugu Mnembe, were placed beside Nyamyaro, a 9-legged throne. Anchored on the throne, he blessed other regalia, including drums, to be sounded by his servants outside the palace, atop a small artificial hill locally known as Kawakali, which is in front of the king's gate Mugabante. This crew performed rituals seeking clearance from the spirits to proceed with the function. After receiving permission, they would go to the entrance of the palace residence, playing trumpets, amakondere, and other musical instruments to inform the king's entertainer, Kabonera and Ompanyara, if the ceremony had been cleared to go ahead or not. The dancing procession then moved from atop the hill to the palace, where the king would be seated on the royal throne with beads placed in his hands. At this point, the Abasita clan, the custodians of the 9-footed royal drum, were let into the palace residence to present the mpango before the king. The Abasita kept the drum during the Abachese dynasty, which ruled the empire in the 16th century. The Omukama struck the royal drum 9 times, signaling the beginning of the mpango dance, Okuguruka mpango, which lasted 2 days in the palace. The Omukama, who has the discretion to join the dance, often chosen to watch his subjects dance to the music played from traditional musical instruments. The celebrations would conclude with a subcutaneous feast known as Okwinura. The famous traditional dance is said to have been initiated in the 19th century during the reign of Omukama Rukidi I, who, due to his love for the dance, turned it into a major mpango ingredient. The mpango dance then is taken to the Omukondo, a key official who performs different rituals and who prophesied how Omukama Rukidi I would be a king. The celebration would then be taken to the Queen Mothers in Buchunga, Hoima City, where more rituals would be performed to crown the year's festivities. Slowly fading, before the abolition of kingdoms, Bunyoro held mpango celebrations twice a year. The celebrations would be held during every harvest season, where the king's subjects would come along with harvest and other forms of gifts which they would offer to honor his good leadership. The event became annual upon the restoration of cultural institutions in 1994. But as the years goes by, key traditions are being lost. These rituals and celebrations that lasted 9 days now happen over 4 days, a trend that has raised concern in the kingdom. Ramparo said some rituals can be roundly performed by the chief prince Okwiri, but was quick to add that with the ongoing leadership impasse, dark lacunas of unaccounted power and alleged mismanagement makes a bad situation worse. It may be profane, going to be eroded, because the head of the cultural institution is sick. The kingdom leadership currently has no authority to tell people to do this and the subjects do it. They respect the king. It is during the mpango festival that he orders people to stop negative cultural practices that hinder development, how to coexist with other tribes, promote culture, and the people would heed, he said. He further argues that the youth are unwilling to learn these traditions on the alleged premonition that they are satanic, further predisposing key aspects of culture to extinction. The absence of the king has also created anxiety among subjects, expunged the significance of the institution in forging unity and steering development. John Kibego, a resident of Kibingo Cell in Hoima City, said the mpango was known for reviving culture and bringing people together. But to his chagrin, today it has become a normal function like independence, where the president comes to give a speech not to live to the value of independence. He said it should be reserved as a cultural function as opposed to collecting money from conglomerates which they can hardly account for. He said, by not seeing the king, it is as if the real function has not taken place. I quote, by not seeing the king, it shows a disappearing kingdom. I feel threatened and pity for those of us who love the kingdom for not doing anything about it, he stated. Betty Tumusime, a resident of Hoima City, said, I quote, some of us come with the main aim to see the Omukama, and by him not being physically present, it is bad. He is usually rare to see in public, and the Mpango gives us the opportunity to listen to him speak. He stated, the kingdom has also been embroiled in leadership wrangles since the king was taken ill, with different factions claiming true stewardship of the kingdom. Some members of the ruling clan have previously boycotted the celebrations and distanced themselves from the ritualless events. The head of the ruling clan, Fred Mugenyi Ruchunya, and Prime Minister Andrew Byakutaga have been at loggerheads for years, contention that culminated into the former appointing a parallel cabinet, creating two power centers, and further fracturing the kingdom. Ruchunya accuses Byakutaga of failure to be accountable and transparent, allegations Byakutaga denies. In a twist of events, however, Ruchunya yesterday, among a handful of Abito clan members, attended this year's Thanksgiving prayers despite his long-running concerns. A ruling clan leader who preferred anonymity accuses those steering the institution on behalf of the Omukama of running the cultural institution as a business entity as opposed to its major role. Apart from the cultural intrusion, Bunyoro as a language is facing extinction and no one tells schools to teach it. Haven't you seen women praising the king when it is culturally inconceivable? The Mpango naming rituals, among other rituals, are dying as we play a bystander role. Mpango is a tradition which is accompanied by the said rituals that ancestors have practiced for as long as we can predate, the source said. Apart from sounding the drum, the other activities can be done by the Okwir, but leadership wars have made it impossible, the source added. When the rituals are not performed, there is a gap and people may forget them, which is not good for our culture. But there is nothing we can do about the king's health. It is unfortunate. We can't change it for now. But when he gets well, he will perform rituals, Byakutaga said. Despite these challenges, the kingdom is working to preserve its cultural heritage, according to Byakutaga. Initiatives like interclan football tournaments, Mpango marathons, and bicycle races aim to expose young people to their culture and values to ensure the continuity of our cultural heritage. The kingdom is also working to revive clan involvement in kingdom affairs, with 32 clans registered so far. The kingdom's premier also hopes to register all 70 clans within 5 years. As the 500-year-old Bunyoro kingdom, comprised of the districts of Hoima, Masindi, Kiryandongo, Bulisa, Chikube, Kagadi, Kakumiro and Kibale, navigates these challenges, the future of Mpango and the kingdom's cultural heritage remains uncertain. Hangiriza kutamba, hangiriza mwebingwa, singa omujikuru kabalega, egunde gunde karuzika. Credit Robert Atwaire.